All right, a very good evening to you. Welcome to Crossfire this evening. I'd like you to take a look at some of the pictures that we have for you that will shape the basis of this conversation. Pictures that were seen in Kisumu, Nairobi and Mombasa as NASA supporters clashed with the police over anti-IEBC demonstrations. 3 people are shot dead, 2 others sustained injuries after the demos turned chaotic in Siaya and Migori on Friday. In Kisumu, scores of demonstrators were injured as they attempted to enter the city center. 6 were rushed to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Referral Hospital, some with bullet wounds and others clobbered with clubs. The police blocked all the main routes leading to the city center and used tear gas to disperse the youth. All that was witnessed after the government outlawed anti-IEBC demos in central business districts of Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu, citing Public Order Act. Interior Acting CS Fred Matiang'i said the ban was aimed at protecting Kenyans and their property. So it is the 15th day of October. Thank you so much for joining us on Crossfire this evening. We have to my immediate right, Ndini Nyoro Kiaru, Member of Parliament. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for joining us. And right next to him, we have Jared Okello Nyando, Member of Parliament. Mheshimiwa, thank you for joining us this evening. So before we start this conversation, I'd like to listen into what some of the leaders had to say with respect to these protests.
Mara hiyo Eric amepigwa. Nikabeba Eric mpaka hapa Russia. Kwa mgongo yangu. Wa polisi, maepesi, wamempiga tena wakachukua maji ya ule mama, wakakunywa, wakienda.
All I want to tell the police is that they should realize that there's a law in this country where you cannot just pass the buck na kusema ya kwa mkubwa wangu ndo alinituma. Na mimi najua wazi because the way they were very, very hesitant.
Business are down. They are just crying for the president and the opposition leader to just come down and have a negotiation so that we have peace in the country.
So that is what happened last week on Friday. Mheshimiwa Jared Okello, let me begin with you. So the acting CS Matiang'i says his orders do not curtail the right of NASA to demonstrate and picket, just leave the towns out of it. What are your thoughts?
Well, firstly, it is an outrage. Very sad for my country, very sad to the justice system, and very sad for protection of constitutionalism. We did not really expect that, having lived under a tyrannical rule right from 1963 to about 1992, that we would, go back, or rather backpedal on matters democracy to what we have witnessed in Kisumu, Bondo, and many other places. Now, the Interior Cabinet Secretary has no reason to justify killings. Even in situations where criminals conduct themselves in ways that do not imbue the tenets of the Constitution, you don't shoot them. It is sad that he has refused to condemn this act. His president, Uhuru Kenyatta, has kept mum about this, as if lives of those from the western part of Kenya don't matter. What we are saying is that they have to respect the Constitution. It was a highly negotiated document espoused under the supreme law. Okay. And therefore, for Matiang'i to subvert this fundamental tenet, particularly Chapter 4 of the Constitution that talks about the Bill of Rights, is quite absurd. We hope that the investigative agencies, we have invited the Amnesty International, Kenya National Human Rights Commission, together with many others, worth talking about, to move in speedily to carry out investigations that will definitely put somebody to answer.
Okay, Mheshimiwa Nyoro.
From the onset, I want to laud the action by our CS, Matiang'i. First of all, to ban the so-called demos and peaceful picketing. Because what we have seen from NASA, there is nothing to do with peace. There is nothing to do with picketing. It is everything about thuggery and diabolical actions. And there is nothing that can justify anyone enjoying their rights as far as Chapter 4 is concerned. When you are knocking other people's cars, when you are going to other people's shops uninvited, there is nothing peaceful about that. And we have to look at how we want to protect the many innocent Kenyans who have nothing to do with the so-called demos, because those demos have only yielded violence, they have only yielded the kind of thuggery we've seen. It is uncalled for. Okay. I condemn those kind of actions, and the leaders of NASA should be very ashamed to see the outcome of their calling. And we want to tell Matiang'i, akanyagie hapo hapo.
Linda, let me teach my friend something about the Constitution.
We cannot just sit and watch as some few thugs break into other people's shops who are innocent in the name of fighting for their political
Well, Article 245 of the Kenya's Constitution puts the weight on the back of the police to protect the dignity of the Kenyan people. Theirs is to ensure that, public order is respected. Okay. And that is why they went to Kiganjo and many other paramilitary training institutions. We did not go there for a very good reason, that we had people who were willing to go on our behalf. So what that article says is that the work of the police is to maintain law and order. Okay. Now, if criminal elements perhaps are taking advantage of our demonstrations, such as his grouping called the Nairobi Business Community, a ragtag army, that have absolutely no recourse, then it is the work of the police to decipher those criminal elements, apprehend them, and take them to be charged in a court of law. Okay. But the police have done the direct opposite. Very peaceful demonstrators have been shot at. The police have witnessed situations where a vehicle belonging to somebody amongst the group of the business community runs through demonstrators, injuring 3. And to date, no arrest has been made. The documents pertaining to the ownership of that vehicle are in the public domain. So you can see a government that has totally failed to discharge its mandate. Probably because it is a caretaker government. So they have left
you get a caretaker government, you have failed to maintain
I wonder what my brother Jared expected that driver to do. You are in the middle of people who are baying for your blood, and you are there harmless.
Mheshimiwa, were they baying for the blood of the occupants of that kind? Why would they be baying for
If you stole somebody else's car and he's there, and the only alternative there is, if they stop, is for them to get killed. Okay. There is something called self-defense. It is unfortunate that somebody had to be hurt in that incident, but you also have to look at it in both sides.
Do you know he has not been arrested? He has not recorded any statement with any police station? Do you know that?
Why should he be arrested?
Oh, okay.
What you are witnessing now is opposition.
Mheshimiwa, have you seen the raw footage of what happened?
I saw the raw footage.
And you still think this person should not be arrested?
Or I'm asking, what are the alternatives? Okay. This person is here in the middle of Nairobi. There are thugs all around his car, stoning him.
Protesters,
Did you expect him to stop? What was the alternatives for this innocent Kenyan?
Well, definitely,
whereas I feel for
there
the
is no
injured
evidence.
leader, whereas I feel for the injured,
there is
and
no
especially
evidence.
Because they are being misused by their political leaders, and that is very wrong. I also have to look at it in the other direction, that this is an innocent Kenyan driving on our roads, freely going to work. What did you expect him to do amidst thugs who are paying for his blood?
So from where you see this guy did nothing wrong?
Or I'm asking both, especially my brother, what were the alternatives for this driver?
Jared.
Well, you know, there is no evidence that his life was under threat. Absolutely. This is a guy who ran amok from a direction no one can explain. And by the way, an occupant in the same car shot somebody, shot. So this is a thug who was actually armed with a gun. And my brother here can still claim that there is nothing wrong that he did. Even if his life was under threat, the best he could have done, and this is a team in a car that were armed with a gun. They ought to have left the car there and probably run away, if at all. But that is not there in any evidence. So this is just somebody who is amongst the people who have come up here to disturb our peace and to create anarchy in this country in a bid to protect a government that is heading home.
What you are witnessing now is opposition autocracy.
Okay, hold on. Jared, let me ask you. When these protests were being organized, I'm sure there was a conversation about peace marshals, getting the young men among the demonstrators to sort of help the police to maintain this peace, even as the protests go on. Was there any such plan?
Well, what basically happens under the new constitutional dispensation is that when you plan a peaceful protest, such as the one that we always have, and tomorrow we will have the grandmother.
Oh, tomorrow you're having another protest?
Actually, the entire week.
Okay.
The best thing that is required by law is to notify the police.
Granted, yes, that
yes,
we know.
And then it is now the work of the police to ensure that the demonstrators are kept safe, even as they move on the streets.
From your end,
now,
do you have any responsibility?
From our end, of course, we have had very many young people who guide the procession. They are not licensed by any law to do the work of the police, but what they do is to map the routes and direct people how to move and when to move and which routes to follow and which ones not to follow. Okay. So that is their work. So but they are not going to negate that responsibility and pass it over and assume the role of the police, who actually, in actual sense, got a notification from the NASA headquarters.
Jared, a direct question. Was there destruction of property in the CBD carried out by your supporters?
Not to any of our knowledge. Okay. But what we saw is a ragtag organization calling itself Nairobi Business Community, interfering with somebody's premises, drinking sodas, bandishing all the bottles, throwing them helter-skelter on the streets.
Those are not your...
Oh, well, that is his group. And you wonder why the police accord them protection.
Brother, Jared, says that tomorrow we will have the mother of all...
The grandmother, I didn't say
yeah, the grandmother, even the great-grandmother.
It will be different from the rest.
Yes.
He says we'll have the grandmother of all chaos tomorrow.
No, I didn't say chaos. That is what you're saying.
I
said the grandmother of demonstrations in line with Article 37 of the Kenya's Constitution. Let me read it for you. Let me paraphrase that particular section of the law for you. Now, it says that people have fundamental rights, peaceably and unarmed, to picket, to demonstrate, and to present petitions to government agencies.
Okay. Yeah. But those rights have limitations, don't they?
What I can tell you.
And the limitations, let me tell you, that is actually the law, that there could be limitations and enjoyment of those fundamental rights. But the limitations are only guided by a court of law. Not by Matiang'i, not Uhuru Kenyatta, not Nyoro, not anybody. Court of law.
My brother Jared.
Yeah.
You said tomorrow we'll have the grandmother
of all demonstrations. Correct.
I want to tell those who are watching and planning to come for tomorrow's chaos.
Oh, well, why do you like the word chaos? You know, this guy was born in chaos.
Tomorrow.
So he's associated with chaos.
You will have the great-grandmother of the force of law meted against you. If you have any, if you have any intention to come to town, while even you have banned this kind of chaos, you have a plan to come and destroy other people's properties, be sure you'll meet the government waiting for you. And what I can tell you, leader, what you are witnessing currently is what I would call opposition autocracy or authoritarianism, where we have people who have failed in all democratic ways to gain power, but they are so determined to have their way being followed, not even their say being heard. And I want to tell them this is a very dangerous route. We know what our country went through in 2007, and even his party leader became prime minister through that kind of very unfortunate way. But this time around, I want to tell you, Jared, no amount of intimidation, and there's no amount of moving from addressing this media to the other, will change our democratic rights.
Linda, the advantage that we enjoy even now as we speak...
26th is the deciding date. Continue wasting your time.
Now, let me tell you. The advantage we have, even as we speak here, is that he's a mere member of parliament like me. He cannot instruct even NYS to do something. So by telling us that, we are going to be met by force, these are intimidation.
We'll come here tomorrow.
And this has been properly choreographed by Jubilee government to instill fear in us. so that we do not champion for the rights of the people
and as they do so,
electoral justice.
As they do so,
but
leader,
we will do
and as
away
you
with
call
it.
as you call Kenyan people,
them.
especially
Guys.
young people, to come and demonstrate.
Oh, they
tomorrow.
will be there.
I am calling upon you, and especially your party leader, because
and
I know
will be at the forefront.
I know his favorite station is KTN News. That if we have those demonstrations tomorrow, we expect nothing less than the rider to be in the forefront.
Okay.
That the first tear gas canister will fall on him, not misusing Kenyan people who are jobless, just for him to gain power through his devious means.
I need us to listen to Acting Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and some opposition leaders as well on that day that ban was implemented. Could we listen to that?
We will not allow demonstrations within the central business districts of Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu. That we shall prefer judges, again is the said Mr. Magaya, and we are waiting for the report on the damages caused so as to quantify the value of the claim.
The responsibility to ensure that you are protected as the demonstrator, the responsibility to ensure that other businesses and other Kenyans are not interfered with, rests with the police, not the person giving the notice. It is not true, as Matiang'i says, that the police need to write back to you and confirm availability. The second issue is this. Under the law, a right under Article 37 cannot be constrained, cannot be restricted, except by law.
Mr. Matiang'i, for saying that we cannot enjoy our freedom to demonstrate and to picket. There are two High Court decisions by Judge Lenaola and Judge Onguto, which are very clear that when there is a demonstration in which the government has been notified, it is the responsibility of the police to ensure that protection is given to those who are exercising that freedom. And it is also the responsibility of the police to ensure that other people who are not taking part in the demonstrations are also protected.
Those are different leaders from the opposition giving their view on the ban on protests. Mheshimiwa Okello, let me begin with you. So according to the opposition, this ban is unconstitutional.
Precisely so. And a very able senior counsel, James Orengo, has alluded to two most fundamental decisions that were arrived at by a court of law. And this is in respect to case number 285 of 2014 before Justice Isaac Lenaola, who is currently at the Supreme Court, and another one before Justice Onguto, 169 of 2016, actually last year. And what they did say is that even in situations where these demonstrations may turn unruly, that is not a deterrent to the Kenyan people from exercising that particular right.
Okay.
So what he actually meant is that once a decision has been taken by peaceful demonstrators and the police have adequately been notified, it is the work of the police at that level to pick it up and ensure that dignity of the people is protected, property is protected, and lives of the Kenyan people is protected.
So basically it's not your responsibility.
That is not the work of the demonstrators. And
okay.
By the way, and I want to hail these two decisions, that even when they may turn unruly,
yes,
that was captured by these most important decisions. So I also want to challenge my brother to tell me anyone, even from Kindumu, that outlawed demonstrations.
Mheshimiwa.
I want to say that our police force in Kenya is not so idle as to have time to protect people who have no regard for others, people who have no regard for other people's rights. The people you are calling demonstrators, as they have exhibited with their actions, are actually thugs. The work of the police is to protect that innocent Mama Boga whose business is being ruined by these thugs, not the other way around.
But Mheshimiwa, the right to picket is there in the Constitution, and it's also a requirement that the police provide protection both for the protesters and non-protesters.
I want to know what kind of picketing, like the incident we saw the other day. Some demonstrators going to threaten police in their base, in their own police station. what kind of picketing is done in police stations.
Which police station was this? Which one?
We saw it on TV. I can't remember the name. It was all over. I want to say that we cannot allow some few individuals.
You know, I didn't come here to listen to gossip.
Out of their hunger.
Hold on. Hold on.
You have to respect my time.
No.
Out of...
I don't come
but you respect your time.
The door is there. You can walk
to
away.
Listen to gossip.
The door is there.
When somebody,
you can walk away.
You know what he's trying to justify is the deaths of people in Bondo. One police officer said that these demonstrators, these peaceful demonstrators, were actually attacking a business premise. That is what they firstly said. Then the second, the second notion was that they attacked a police station. Then the third one was also that they attacked a police officer who was also in the field. So you've got three differing opinions about one particular incident. And that is what he's trying to justify.
We have seen in Homa Bay, even one witness on TV who had witnessed how those demonstrators roughed up a police officer. The same, my brother...
And I want my brother to defend the police using the law. He has chosen to be the police spokesperson, so defend the police using the law.
Let me give you time to talk so that I can talk in peace. Say all that you have to say.
Finish, Mheshimiwa. It's your time. Go.
It is my time. So what I'm saying is this. To us as Jubilee, we know what democracy entails. Democracy is not done in the streets, misusing poor people's children. Mheshimiwa's coalition should be out there convincing Kenyans how they will protect them after 26th. If they are given them a date.
But Raila has withdrawn from...
He has withdrawn how? He has not signed the Form 24A. That is what we're asking him to do so that we can be able to plan for elections, knowing whether he's there or he's not. Form 24A is the mandatory form which one should sign when they want to withdraw.
So according to you, Raila
cannot
is
claim
that
you have constituency results if you don't have Form 34B. Therefore, he needs to follow the route of law so that we can know how to organize our elections. But whether he's there or not, elections will go on 26th.
Good, let me now teach you.
Because he's just a candidate like any other candidate.
Okay. All right, now let me teach my brother here. Firstly, the Supreme Court nullified Uhuru Kenyatta's illegitimate, illegal, and irregular win, okay, and ordered fresh elections. Now, when that was ordered, the chairman of IEBC, Chebukati, went back to the decision of 2013, where the judges did state that in case of a fresh election, then those who were part of the proceedings before the Supreme Court would then qualify to be the candidates in a subsequent election. So what basically happened is that Chebukati then chose to pick on Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta to be the candidates. But remember that even Nakuru Court was part of the proceedings, and he actually supported the petition. Forget about other busybodies who came to back Uhuru Kenyatta's claims that his election was valid. So when that decision was made, therefore, unilaterally, the chairperson, Chebukati, settled on Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, they want to hide behind the Regulation 52 and 53 that talks about Form 24A. But let me explain something. If you look at Regulation 51, it says that once somebody has been cleared to run, you must therefore sign Form 20. Form 20. So that when somebody wants to chicken out 3 days after clearance, you then sign Form 24A to cancel the previous Form 20 that you signed as a candidate. Now, when this unilateral decision was made to affect only Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta as candidates, no one was given a fresh form to sign. He only relied on the previous clearance where they signed the Form 20. Okay. So when they then say that, you know, Raila should go ahead and sign Form 24, what is so unique in this kind of form? But again, he's signing Form 24A to cancel against which Form 20? Because again, if you look at that piece of regulation, both 51, 52, and 53, it says you can only chicken out by Form 24A 3 days after clearance.
So in other words, he doesn't need to...
Overtaken by events.
He doesn't need to sign it.
That letter is sufficient.
He doesn't need to sign it.
You know, I mean, why?
Hold on. You're watching Crossfire. Thank you for staying with us. Allow me to take a short break. We'll be back with more conversation, especially with the rally that was in Mombasa and the Jubilee campaigns around the country. We'll touch a little bit on those two.